22298.
All right, we are on record for a review in this case. We've had the pleasure of a sidebar with the attorneys before we began, and we'll give everyone an opportunity to talk about that after appearances.
Michael McFarland, Attorney Guardian at Lightham.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department.
Christopher Farian for the department.
Michael Brooks, I represent the mother, Carol.
Carol Rumberg, mother.
And I think we have Milton Rembert logged in by Zoom. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, Milton Rembert.
Great. Good. All right. I understand from Mr. McFarland that at least two of the children have the day off of school and may want to participate today. Are they with you?
Yes, they're here right now.
Okay, great. And who's going to be joining us?
De Niro and Orlando.
Okay, thank you so much. And who's coming in from the iPhone? If you could give us your name, please.
Tell Orlando to say his name.
Orlando.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Okay, comments on the sidebar. Ms. Thomas, I'll start with you.
Your Honor, I will defer to Mr. McFarland regarding his perspective on the sidebar. I think that there were just some concerns about the children needing a court-appointed attorney for their own interest at this time. But I believe that we all agreed to move forward today and address that at the next hearing.
Mr. McFarland.
Your Honor, these two boys are not shy, and they indicated to me that they wish to return to their mother, and that's not something I can support right now. So because our points of view are different and they're old enough, I'm recommending that any hearings after today that they have to be afforded a court-appointed attorney.
Any comments, Mr. Brooks?
Well, I came in prepared for this to be a rather easy and pleasant hearing until I found out that my client is accused of turning up positive drug tests after countless negatives. So if that's the case, we've got a problem.
We didn't mention that during sidebar, and I'm sure it will come up during the hearing, and we'll address it in due course and allow her the opportunity to talk about it if she wants to. I do find it appropriate to appoint the two older children an attorney, given that they're, as I understand it, their position is not the same as the guardian ad litem. But I will also indicate I'll give them an opportunity today to participate. Both of them are old enough to do that. And as long as they're comfortable with that, then we'll make some time today to hear from each of them. So that's the plan moving forward for today's review hearing. Mr. McFarland, your report whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Talked to the boys yesterday, and they were very candid with me. They miss their mom. Their dad is doing a great job raising them. They spend sometimes 3 or 4 nights per week with the grandfather, who's already been vetted. Father's driving them around to all their appointments, doctor's appointments. One of the youngest child had some problems getting into school. Record transfers is what I was advised, although Ms. Rembert is of the belief that father thought that he would have to get a birth record down here and would be arrested on a warrant. Right now, their friends are here in Adrian. Their acquaintances are in Adrian. They have family in Adrian. They very much want to resume where they were. The issue that I see is that mom left a alcohol treatment center, not successfully completing it, is my understanding out here from the worker today, but then tested positive for controlled substances at our probation meeting with a probation officer. I realize there's a presumption of innocence and she's entitled to a hearing on that, but we have a different standard up here than the criminal case. There was an issue with one of the boys talking his way into coming to Adrian during a visit with mom in Monroe, or after the visit with mother in Monroe. I think he understands now that that's not what he's supposed to do, that he must go through his father for everything. School, they're doing well. Have the normal teenage issues that anybody would have in school. So I see normalization there, Your Honor. For a child, this is a process where time is accelerated. But to us, seems like a short period of time. These boys, seems like forever. So I just want to let everybody be aware of what their feelings are there.
Okay, testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Excuse me, if Mr. Farian can be sworn in, please.
Mr. Ferry, come on, for the stand.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Our picture. I can't get it.
All right, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you. Mr. Farian, you provided a court report for today's hearing, and that also included drug screen, the case service plan and drug screens. Are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to the court report at this time?
Yes, there's quite a few in actuality. I believe it was the 18th of this month. So we could go a week ago from tomorrow. Ms. Rembert had left the halfway house where she was voluntarily staying after leaving Harbor Light treatment facility. She's back here in Adrian, staying with a friend right now. She has stayed, I believe, at her mother's at least once or twice as well. She did yesterday. I was contacted by her probation officer that she did have a positive screen for opiates. I will say that I did not add it in the court report, but she is currently on Vivitrol. So that needed to be added. I think that I had forgotten that since we had been at Harbor Light and I had missed that on the court report.
And with that,
Currently, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to ask, Mr. Farian, would that medication create a positive for opiates?
I don't believe so, but I believe it is an opiate blocker.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And you can continue with the other updates.
I think that, I mean, as of yesterday, I think the last time that we had spoken, I hadn't had really any contact with Mrs. Rembert. We did this morning have a lengthy talk on the phone prior to court. Kind of came up with a new case service plan, and I just haven't had the opportunity to put that in writing for the court as of yet.
And briefly, what would the changes to the case service plan that you discussed look like at that?
Sure. So I think that, and I don't have mine in front of me. Obviously, she's not at Paula's house anymore, so that will be scratched. Her goals will still be to continue to find employment, which she was employed at Taco Bell in Monroe, and it sounds like the Taco Bell here in Adrian is willing to hire her on. So that will be a positive if she can get into that. The search for housing, she's indicated to me that she's already been to Housing Help of Lenawee, produced and gotten the paperwork, which she will be turning in here very shortly, hopefully today, if not tomorrow at the latest. She has to report to Taco Bell today with an update with her application. Obviously clean, sober, handle her whatever probation, attend the court hearings that are required with that. I know that she is exploring actually having that sample be submitted to the lab. She did screen for me today. However, I don't have the results. It'll be a few days for that. We have indicated that we would like, she's agreed to be placed on colors for at least 2 times a week to start out with. She understands what that requirement and going to Lenawee Development Center and having those tests done. and that she cannot miss those tests. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think that was pretty much the gist of it. She does have a friend whom she has identified as a safe place if we were to continue visits. I don't know that how we would necessarily look at supervision. However, she has to get me the information of all the adult individuals in the home so that I can make sure that it is a safe place. I've also indicated to her that I will need to physically see where the kids will be staying to make sure that the needs will be met at that house. I've also indicated that it's not appropriate for her to go to her mother's house and have the children stay there. That was where a lot of this stuff was going on prior to me having filed, or the department filing. So she understands that. I'm not opposed to them visiting, however, not overnight, not lengthy stays while they're there visiting with their mother. I think that was pretty much it, other than the regular language that goes in there. I don't think I will change too much.
Thank you for that update. And at this time, do you believe that the children's best interests are served by remaining in the care and custody of their father?
Yes, I do.
And what is the risk of harm if they were to be with mom?
The biggest thing I think is that, and again, these are conversations that I've had with Ms. Rembert over the last several weeks, that she understands that right now this is not, she wants to be prepared for the kids to come back. She knows that she has to be clean and sober. She definitely wants her own place, her own space for both of the young men, and to be able to provide for with them financially. She's realized that through her treatment, she needs to do that, and that she hadn't been doing that prior to. I will say this, and I forgot one other thing that Mrs. Rembert's doing, which is she's also going, and I'm sorry, as I was talking, this kind of clicked in my mind. She's also going to Catholic Charities right now. She's seen, I think it's Miss Becky Lauder, who it's out of Monroe County. We're trying to figure out the logistics on, because they can do telehealth, whether she continues with that individual. And she also provided me with the paper this morning of her attending meetings since she's been back here in town for alcohol and AA meetings. And I do have a copy. I think she actually could have a copy of it for the court if needed as well. Sorry about that, but I feel like those were important to add.
In your court report, you indicate, and we discussed this in court several times, but you indicate that Mr. Rembert reported he did file for divorce and custody.
I had thought that it was, yes, I had thought that he and an attorney, a local attorney, were working on that, that it was going to be filed very shortly. I spoke to him, I believe Friday. It still had not been. Apparently there's some financial issues. I've instructed both him and Mrs. Rembert that it is possible that you can go up and file for divorce on your own. I've also asked Ms. Rembert, which she did this morning, to go down to a friend of the court and ask them if she could initiate the change of custody while she figures these things out. She was instructed to go up to circuit court, and she has not been able to do that unless we were waiting on court at that time to start.
Are there any other services that can be offered to help diminish or address the barriers to reunification at this time? It seems like you've given a comprehensive testimony about what you guys have discussed, but is there anything that the department will have to do to assist mom in addressing those barriers?
I don't know that there's anything directly that the department has more to offer. We're at the same situation that brought us to court, which is employment. I don't want to call her homeless. She's obviously staying with a friend, but it is having her own place and space for the kids. I don't know that I can do anything more than point her in the right direction. I've asked her to utilize Michigan Rehabilitation Services, which she qualifies for, Michigan Works. If this Taco Bell job is going to be work for her, then she's got the employment, and I'm hoping that by the end of the week, she'll have some sort of a schedule.
Are you aware of any needs that the children have at this time?
I am not aware of any needs. There is a worker by the name of Ms. Shawn Oates out of Oakland County that meets with the children regularly. I have asked her extensively to explore those things for me, and to, if it's not something that she can directly help with, to please contact me so I can make sure that is done. She does a face-to-face visit with the children. Like I said, at least once a month.
Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the court's attention today?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Your Honor, I would ask the court accept the court report with the case service plan and the attachments into the record. Thank you.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you, they are received. Did you say that, as you understood it, she is trying to keep an established relationship with the counselor to see if she could do it online? I missed some of that.
Yes, Your Honor. So, as I said, she's using, because she was in Monroe County at Paula's house is located in Monroe County. She was engaged with services out there, Catholic Charities out of Monroe. And rather than, since she'd been there several months and been associated with this individual, they were able to continue with the telehealth rather than transfer back to Lenawee and go back to the Catholic Charities here with those individuals. So I think that she would like to do that if it's possible. And I'm waiting to hear from that worker, the social worker there for this.
And did you see you have received some kind of documentation that she's going to NAAA, or that you think it's possible? Can you clarify that, please?
So there's a sign, usually, and I'm not sure that it came from the probation department here. I actually just took a picture of it on my phone, where the dates that were present, you can see the stamp that was put on by the individual places that where she attended those meetings to show that she was there.
All right. And do you know, will she be facing a violation as a result of the drug test?
So I'm not sure of when the court date was. When I spoke to the probation officer yesterday, and I did not have an opportunity to call this morning to find out specifically when that is. Ms. Rembert indicated to me that she will indeed have a court date. So that will, to address those issues. Again, Ms. Rembert is challenging the validity of the test. So as of now, she will have to pay to have that screen be sent to the lab. She's working on that.
As I have in my notes that she was in rehabilitation in order to avoid jail for a probation violation. So do we know if there will be any violation as a result of her leaving?
No, because she actually had completed Harbor Light's inpatient program. So it's my understanding that in talking with the probation officer, her residence at Paula's house was completely voluntary, and it was in her effort to get herself out of the community where she was, and to continue with some of her treatment.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Questions, Mr. Brooks?
I'm going to show you what's been marked as proposed respondents exhibit A. Varian.
Any objection, Ms. Thomas?
What it is, it's the
No,
proof
fine.
of 12-step attendance.
Sorry, I didn't catch your answer.
No, Your Honor, no objection.
Thank you. Go ahead.
To identify at least the document that you're familiar with.
Yes, it's State of Michigan District Court 2A District, and it's the proof of 12-step attendance. And this is what Ms. Rembert had showed me this morning.
Unless there are objections, I move for the introduction of that exhibit.
None.
think Ms. Thomas has already told us she doesn't have an objection. Thank you. Deputy Ames, would you make a copy of this for us, please? And I don't have to keep Ms. Rembert's original.
No, Mr. Varian, I'm looking at a document that apparently was prepared this morning by my client, which is entitled a petition for referee hearing, where she's asking to grant Mr. Rembert temporary custody for 120 days. Have you seen this?
I did not directly look at it. I know that she had kind of held it up to me after she had told me she had been a friend of the court and then had to go up to circuit court, as I referenced.
Would you consider there to be any distinction if she and Mr. Rembert voluntarily signed one of those temporary guardianship things? It's 6 months. Would that be the same thing to you?
Well, Mr. Brooks, I'm not familiar with that necessarily, so I don't know, without talking to counsel, my counsel, and the if that would be acceptable. However, I would be willing to entertain that if I was able to speak to them about that.
The reason I bring it up is Mr. Rembert seems to be rather slow on the uptake in just about everything you've recommended. And if we can get them to do it on their own, we can cut through some of this nonsense.
And I think that that's been kind of the holdup. Yes, I mean, we were willing to, the department and council were willing to allow him the opportunity to file, and in which case then the children would be in his custody and he would be able to determine that. And it's my understanding that usually, typically in those cases, there has to be an indication on why that's being done, and then that Ms. Rembert would have to prove to the court when they went back to ask for that to be changed, that she's made those changes.
I don't know if this actually got into the record, but unfortunately, my client, after a very stellar performance at abstinence, has tested positive for drugs.
Correct.
Did it say what kind?
I was told it was opiates, specifically Oxy.
And because of that, you cannot, at this point, recommend the children be returned to their mother.
That is only one piece.
What is the other?
Well, again, we, stable housing, which has been on the case service plan since day one, employment and being able to meet the needs of the children, financially. So those two pieces, along with the substance abuse, are the most concerned.
Is she resistant to where you're trying to go with this?
Ms. Rembert and I, we at times have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes she tells me that she dislikes me, but usually after 24, 48 hours of kind of maybe thinking it through, that she'll come back and apologize and say, you know what, you're really just trying to help me out. I think that's a natural reaction for a lot of people. I'm patient with it, but when she finally got into treatment and she went to the halfway house and was doing those things, it was great. But as throughout this process, we've had a lot of different things of, I'm gonna go to treatment, and then she didn't go to treatment. And so I guess my thing is I would like to see her, and I believe she can, do what she says she's gonna do this time around. And when the roadblocks come up, the biggest thing is to communicate with me. I was last minute, I found out she left the facility. I had no way to plan for her. I had no way to help her. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. So I think she's capable of doing it. It's just a matter of communication though, and allowing me to point her in the right direction or get her the resources she needs to be successful.
Now, she was at the halfway house, or the one before that, Harbor Light.
Mhm.
She successfully completed that program. Is that accurate?
That, to my knowledge, yes, it is.
And she has violated no treatment program by leaving the voluntary halfway house. Is that right?
Correct.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McFarland?
Mr. Rembert, he has a friend of the court caseworker, correct?
Yes, Miss Michelle Stevenson.
My understanding is you had a conversation with her in which if Mr. Rembert paid $100 towards his back child support, his bench warrant would be withdrawn, correct?
Correct, that was several months ago.
I was gonna ask you how long that was, and when did you relate that to Mr. Rembert?
Almost immediately.
So several months ago, he's known this.
Correct, yes.
Has he paid $100, as far as you know, as of yesterday to the friend of the court and got his warrant withdrawn?
Not to my knowledge. I think I spoke to Miss Stevenson last Friday and there had been no contact.
Has he or Ms. Rembert reached out to you to get that self-help divorce filing packet from the circuit court?
No.
If he were to reach out, is that something you could pick up and forward to him?
As long as there's no fee that's involved up front for that, I would say yes.
I know you've heard Ms. Rembert state that eloquently in court before that she did not wish to come back to Adrian where there were temptations and issues for her, correct?
Correct, yes.
What's your position about her returning to Adrian?
I think I just indicated a little bit to Mr. Brooks. I'm skeptical. I mean, there's got to be a, 2 weeks ago, I think we met on the 5th or 6th, the 6th. Ms. Rembert and I met and she had told me that there wasn't a whole lot here for her. I mean, we're talking a little more than 2 weeks ago, that it wasn't the best place for her, but and again, that's kind of what I alluded to. It was just, I didn't have any way to help her prepare for this, to even talk to her whether it was a great idea to leave or not. I think there's some extenuating circumstances of what was happening there that caused her to leave.
You mean Paula's house?
Yes, yes. What those are specifically, I have, the Paula's house didn't tell me specifically, but I've heard from Ms. Rembert. So I am concerned. I'm concerned that she's going to go back to the same places that she was before. However, so far she's gone to meetings. That's different. I'm hoping that if she can get employment, that'll help as well, keep her away from those type of places where she was going. I do not know specifically the details of where she's living. Those were things that I had mentioned before. That a house that I will have to go to, that I'll have to make it safe, specifically for the boys being there. If that's where she's choosing to stay, I can't stop her from staying there necessarily. But if we were going to continue visits, then that would be it.
I know you wouldn't have had time to add to your report the issues of Paula's house, but can you tell us what she advised you were her reasons for leaving Paula's house?
Sure, there were several things. One being that, and I've dealt with this a lot in a lot of the shelters, halfway houses, not getting along with the other individuals there, a lot of cattiness between the women. There were some concerns that she brought up that there may be some substance abuse going on in there, not of her,
Sure.
but other individuals there that made her uncomfortable. And as she put it, and being there, I've seen there's a lot of younger individuals there. And she has other children aside from the two young men with Mr. Rembert. She also has her other children that needed her here. One of them being Layla, who was on the case previously, going to school and doing those things. So she wants to be here to help her as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I suppose that if there were a divorce that had, or custody order, with Mr. Rembert having custody, at least as of right now, you would recommend the case closure, wouldn't you?
Correct, yes, because the boys would be in another county and safe.
Lastly, with Mom, have you discussed or thought about how the boys are going to be visiting with their siblings? Are they having visits with their siblings?
Their adult siblings?
Yes.
Not at this time, no. I think because their initial visits, unless they're going up to visit with their father, the other, because those are his children as well, so if they're going up to visit them, then.
I have a sister down here.
Correct, yes. But she had also been going up to the father's home periodically.
How do you see the visits occurring down here, the transportation, the logistics of it?
Again, Ms. Rember does have a friend who is willing to do some of the transporting. If you're talking about, while I'm involved, we can help somewhat with gas and those type of things. And I think we discussed that with the whole Paula's house as well in the last hearing, that I would help facilitate that if needed. I just need a reasonable amount of time to secure those things from the department, the office, if I'm not working in the office, in order to get there.
Frequency, do you see 3 times a week with the distance involved, or what are your thoughts?
No, I think that what they were doing was weekends, because you also have, because of the logistics and the children being in school. I think that it was every other weekend, or they were shooting for every other weekend, as opposed to every weekend. I mean, it's my understanding kids do have friends in Oak Park area, so obviously as teenagers, or usually as teenagers, I should say, they want to spend time with those friends as well, so.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect, Ms. Thomas?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any recross, Mr. Brooks?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat.
Thank you.
Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
Non-testify.
Yeah.
My client, Your Honor, Mrs. Rember.
Monitor witness stand, Ms. Rember.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
What would you like the court to know, ma'am?
I've been doing good since the day I came to jail. I've been clean. I've been clean for almost 5 months. I don't know why the test came up positive for Oxy, but I am on Vivitrol. I am contesting it. I do have to come up with the $50 to send it in, which I'm gonna do today. I'm not doing anything different. I've been dropping clean for the last 5 months, so. And a couple of the meetings I went to yesterday, a couple of the other girls who were on Vivitrol had the same problem. They dropped dirty for Oxy as well. I don't know if it has anything to do with whatever. So, you know, they kind of just, you know, gave me some hope and said, just send it in and it's gonna be okay. So I'm not worried about that. I'm really not worried about anything at this point. I know I've been doing everything I had to do. I've gone to LEAC. I've got to go turn in all the documents today to them. I have to stop in Taco Bell today, hopefully get a schedule. Been going to meetings and you know, I didn't want to come back to Adrian. But since I've been back, I realized that there is a sober community here. And there are meetings for me to attend, and I didn't know that, you know, leaving, you know, because I wasn't around people like that. I wasn't in that environment. I was out there. But now that I'm back, I do see that there is support here, and I like the meetings, and I'm going to continue to go. And I really feel bad that I even thought, you know, Adrian's not, you know, the place to be sober. But I mean, anybody can do it, and I'm going to do it, and I am doing it. So, you know, I have other kids here that needed me. And that's, well, the only reason why I'm back.
Let me ask you this question. Is it your testimony that you did not take controlled substances contrary to the orders of the court?
Absolutely. I have not taken anything.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it. That's the gist of it.
Thank you.
Ms. Thomas?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland?
In the past, you've indicated there have been people in Adrian who you shouldn't associate with because it would tempt you, correct?
Yep.
Do you think it might be productive to give a list of these individuals to Mr. Farian? So we kind of know that these are people you shouldn't be around and it may help you with your sobriety. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't really want to put names out there. But I haven't been around anybody. I haven't talked to anybody. I have a whole new phone number. It's just not where I want to be right now.
You
You know,
realize
these-
go ahead.
And I mean, a lot of the people are my family, you know, unfortunately, I deal with my mom every day, but that still doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do. I'm not that person anymore. I don't want to be. I've changed my whole life and I'm going to stay focused and continue doing what I'm doing. I have no desire to associate with anybody, you know, who I was. Mind you, it was people that I was helping me get high. So I have no need to be around them anymore. I'm good and I'm content. I'm happy. And I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing.
A part of your term of probation doesn't include not being around these individuals, is that correct?
I don't know if that's a term, but I'm about positive. I'm not supposed to be around anyone doing any kind of illegal activity. So yeah, I mean, that goes along with anybody who might be doing something illegal.
What do you want for your parenting time while you're in Adrian?
I would like to see my boys on the weekends. I miss them. I haven't seen them in a couple weeks and I know they miss me. You know, my kids have stayed by my side through my whole entire addiction, which has been all their lives. You know, this is new to them and they're happy and I'm happy and they're just, you know, we're close. They're all I have. And
You say you've been sober for 5 months, is that
almost
correct?
5 months,
Almost 5
yes, since June 5th.
And how many months have you had a sponsor?
For a month. I'm still working with the same sponsor. She's in Monroe and she is actually going to start coming to a meeting or two out here with me. I'm on my step 4, which I've been struggling with. I've been on it for about a month, but we're getting through it. It's a big step, so.
Well, you jumped ahead, because I was gonna ask you what steps, so I'm glad you could tell us what step, and honestly tell us where you are on that.
Yeah.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect, Mr. Brooks?
No,
All right, thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Any other witnesses?
no.
Mr. McFarland?
I'd like to call Mr. Rembert.
Okay, Mr. Milton Rembert, Deputy Ames.
Mr. Rember, can you hear me, sir?
You'll have to unmute.
I hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, but I can't see you. Can you raise your right hand, please, and let me know it's raised?
It's raised.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Rembert, you heard Mr. Farian testify that a couple months ago, he told you that your friend of the court caseworker would accept $100 and withdraw the warrant, correct?
Correct.
Have you paid that $100?
I need to pay 50 more.
When did you pay that $50?
About a month ago.
Okay, now we've been on this case since at least, I have notes going back to May of 2023.
Yes, I was also advised by different lawyers that I talked to not to pay the child support because it would be calculated into the divorce. Me and you spoke a couple of days ago about the divorce packet that I downloaded that Chris gave me the information for. I remember I told you I was at the part where I need to make copies of the divorce and have somebody serve her, Carol.
Thank you. I was going to ask you where you stand on your divorce, so thank you for jumping ahead there. So has your divorce actually been filed with the court?
No, it hasn't. I'm at the part where I make the proper amount of documents and I have to take them to the court and have her served.
Do you have a library near you?
Yes.
And how long have you had these papers that you need to serve her?
Maybe about 2 weeks now.
Is there a reason why you couldn't have gone down to the library near you and just made copies pretty cheap from the library?
No, it's not.
Do you have a way to get the kids down here to visit their mom for parenting time?
That was a problem before. She had somebody that we was giving gas money to.
No, I'm asking you, do you have somebody who could do transporting for you?
Yes.
I mean, I know you're driving the kids around. Is there a reason why you couldn't meet halfway?
Yeah, I could meet halfway with her. We done
Okay.
that before.
And where do you guys typically meet halfway?
In Saline at McDonald's by the Sam's Club,
Okay.
right off the freeway.
And I know you and I have spoken about the boys, that they're kind of having regular teenage issues at school. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Now, your one son has a history of medical issues. You've informed me that you've been getting him to all of his appointments as he needs to be. Is that correct?
Correct. His next appointment is tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
And we're broadcasting, I'm presuming, on YouTube. So I want you to use the child's initials, but which child was late in going to school as far as registering?
DR.
DR. And can you tell us why DR was late in attending school and how many days he was late?
Well, personally, they both was really late. I was having a problem with the schools sending me information. Then once they got the information, they had to wait for Oak Park to view it and send it to the administration. Then after they sent it to the administration, they finally sent me an email saying I could bring them to school. One took a little while longer than the other. Orlando was in school first. De Niro was in school last.
Yeah, I was informed by Ms. Rembert that it was because you would not come down here to pick up a birth certificate because you thought you might be arrested. Is there truth to that?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I already had talked to the schools they had for me. As long as I was able to send them my ID, they was going to send me the required documents that I had needed. That, what you just said, was never brought up or issued.
Thank you. Is there anything that you're wanting that you may need to help you with the boys?
No, I'm fine, actually. Most likely I just want them, safe, to make a long story short.
Nothing further on.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Brooks?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Rembert. At this time, I'd like to offer the opportunity for Orlando or De Niro to testify. If either of you would like to say anything today, please let me know now.
De Niro said no. Orlando said no too.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rembert, for asking, and thank you to Orlando and De Niro for coming today. Okay, anyone else you'd like us to hear from?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Closing comments, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor. I think you have sufficient testimony today, and I think that we're going to need another review hearing. So just ask for status quo. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Well, to be perfectly honest, most cases where I have people claim clients who claim that they want a second test. I'm skeptical in this lady's case, given her strong history of abstinence. I'm not skeptical, so I guess we'll see what happens with the test.
Mr. McFarland?
I really want to believe that there's a false positive on that test. I would really like to believe what Ms. Rembert is telling us. She's saying everything I think we need to hear, but I've heard that in the past from her also. So there's a great deal of skepticism that I have, and I hope I'm proven wrong. That's what I really want to have, is that I'm proven wrong. I can understand why she might want to leave Paula's house for those reasons, and those appear to be legitimate. It does concern me that she's not willing to give names of individuals she's not around. I want to make sure that individuals who shouldn't be around her aren't around the boys. And some of them are family members, we've heard. And I think it's important that we really need to identify who these individuals are for the safety of the boys. And also to prevent mom from relapsing, because I really want the best for her, for the boys. I think it's perfectly natural for the boys to want to come down here and associate with some of their friends, acquaintances, in a safe manner, not just wandering the streets. So I would support that as what's normal. I've heard for almost half a year now that we're going to get custody situated. It seems apparent, I mean, obvious to most of us, that just go down to the library and make some copies, or drive down here to the court and pick up that paperwork. But I know Mr. Rembert is also a sole provider. He's doing a good job. I know the kids are spending some nights per week with their grandfather, who's been vetted. So I think that's perfectly normal. They may very well do that if the court was not involved. I'm just concerned how much longer we're kind of be in limbo with the custody situation. I'm not sure that you can just go and apply for custody without some type of legal separation or divorce action pending. Delegation of parental rights, what Mr. Brooks was speaking to, I don't think that applies to a parent to another parent, because they already have custodial rights. And the longer we drag this out, the thought of permanency that the boys have in their mind keeps lingering, which is not good for their mentor. So those are my thoughts.
The court finds that all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's hearing. I also find a department and Mr. McFarland to be in satisfaction of their obligations. Thank you also to Mr. Brooks for his advocacy. There are certainly reasonable efforts being made towards stabilizing the situation and reunifying the family in as healthy a way as possible. Those are being facilitated and monitored by Mr. Farian. I too am hoping for the best on the retest, as well as just simply a record moving forward of continued negative drug testing. I think that will help you very much with your credibility on that point, Ms. Rembert. So I would encourage you to do that. And the court will be on the lookout for an update at the next review hearing on, of course, that issue, as well as any updates on the potentially probation violation. In the meantime, the children will remain placed with their father. That is the safest and least restrictive under the circumstances as we await Ms. Rembert's the outcome of the probation violation, the drug test results, as well as for her to establish housing and employment for her children. The visitation order will remain as it has been. I will note also in the order that support should be redirected effective April 25th as of the date of the court's order indicating that the children should begin residing with their father. And we'll make sure that we get a copy of that sent down to front of the court in hopes to try to facilitate additional action that way. Mr. Rembert, who is your friend of the court caseworker, if you don't mind me asking?
Too fast. I can't remember her name right now.
Worker notes, Your Honor.
It's Michelle Stevenson.
Yeah, Michelle.
Ms. Michelle? All right, so we'll make sure she gets a copy of today's order as well. And I wish you the best of luck in moving forward on the case to establish custody or visitation so that we don't have to necessarily continue to review this case under the jurisdiction of this court, as it's been, you've demonstrated clearly over the course of the past few months that you are able to provide an environment for your sons that is safe and allows them to have their needs met. Of course, we hope that that will incorporate additional time and support from Ms. Rembert in the future. And for those reasons, I will continue the jurisdiction of the court until the resolution of the case in a way that allows safeguarding of the children, whether that be through the divorce case or simply through our reunification efforts here. Given, however, the fact that the case has been open since December of last year, we will order that there will be a permanency planning hearing at our next review, which will be January 8th at 2:30 p.m. I tried to set that a little bit later, Mr. Rembert, so that in the event that De Niro and Orlando wanted to participate, that they could at least either leave early from school or be out of school, but I have a 3:30 time frame as well. Would that work better to allow them to participate without having to take school off if they wish to?
Yes, I could pick them up from school early at about 2:30 that day.
All right, so would you prefer the 2:30 or the 3:30 spot?
The 3:30.
Okay, so we'll set it for January 8th then at 3:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, unless there's any questions, that's all for today. Good luck.